Hey guys, and welcome to a showdown of glory between two of the most obnoxious Chaos Lords. I'm a Rubber Duck War, and I shall be leading the forces of Slaanesh. I've been having a bucket ton of fun with them recently. I'm so glad I'm allowed to showcase them to you today. And we're up against Mr. Logic himself. He's been one of our main training partners, coming in with Tzeentch. And Tzeentch has been very popular as a competitive pick. A lot of you guys are saying, how on earth do you counter Tzeentch? And I think Slaanesh may indeed have some of the answers. Being so swift, so rapid, and so fast enables them to catch up with a lot of the range tools that Tzeentch has to offer. But Tzeentch certainly has a few tricks up their sleeve. They're never out of a scrap, and this is one of the closest games I've had on this game. In fact, the next couple of replays are probably going to be pretty wild because we're getting some really glorious scraps. So let's delve into this battle. For ourselves, we do have a load of the glorious Hellstriders of Slaanesh. So I've got a few sneaky tactics I'm trying to deploy here. I'll get into them once I've gone through the build. But we have the Hellstriders, 2 units of them. They're relatively cheap and anti-large, which of course is super juicy for me. Or nice, a bonus versus large. We then have a load of Marauder Spearmen as well, making up the second battle line. And in the front battle line, we have a load of Marauders of Slaanesh. So going relatively wide of our infantry corps in the early stages of the game. We have double Seeker Chariots, which look pretty damn ferocious. Now, I've noticed they don't seem to do a huge amount of damage, but what they do is do a bucket ton of backline harass and disruption. And that's just what I want them for today, to attempt to compete with pink horrors and blue horrors. I want to run them over as much as possible and then allow my other units to really dominate the battlefield. And that's the plan today. So I'm going to be moving in with the chariots first, trying to bait in single entities or any type of like enemy cavalry, Doom Knights and so forth to chase them down and pin them in place, and then we jump those with the Hellstriders. That's why we have them just a little bit further behind. Leading the battle line, we have one of the cheaper lords today. Normally you like to see me bring up the big bad boys to action, but the Herald of Slaanesh shall be coming to the battlefield, and she is looking freaking awesome right here, riding to battle on one of her Hell Steeds. She can come in on several mounts. I'm a big fan of her as a unit in general, though. She is relatively cheap and cost effective with some pretty decent spells. If we have a nice little look here with the Locus of Grace, a lovely passive ability increasing melee defense and physical resistance. We have the ability to summon 2 units of Chaos Furies into the battle, and 2 spells today. We have a lovely debuff Hex coming in with negative 24 melee defense and 25 speed, and then the Slicing Shards, which is like a souped up Searing Doom. It is so freaking good. It's a large strike carrier. It does massive burst damage. It is 12 winds of magic, but in this kind of game mode where a lot of people are going to be fighting for objectives, I think it has the potential to be very powerful. For my opponent across the seas, we do have some Doom Knights up in the skies, as well as some Screamers of Tzeentch. They're going to be a big problem for my chariots, and that's why I've brought the cavalry. We do have a couple units of Blue Horrors down on the low ground. Looks like triple Blue Horrors and some Forsaken just behind them to help back them up. And leading the battle line is an Exalted Lord of Change, this one coming in with the Law of Metal. Probably my favorite choice so far from Tzeentch. I do love pretty much all of their picks, actually. They've got a load of powerful lords. All the demon factions have really good legendary lords and pretty cool heroes as well. But this bad boy is one of my favorites. He's kind of a good toolkit here. He once again has the Chaos Furies, just like we do, but also Searing Doom and Final Transmutation. 2 classic spells from Warhammer 2 era, which just do devastating work and can be very powerful. Looks like early doors as well. My opponent is going to be summoning some Screamers of Tzeentch and moving them towards the front line, of course, attempting to intercept my Seeker Chariots, no doubt, as they're going to be a big problem for the Blue Horrors, at least I hope. And I'm shuffling my way in now. On this map, you've got to be a bit careful. Because of all these lovely shot blockers, you can do some really good hiding and juking in these, by the way. But it does put an emphasis on you on bunching up on this map a bit more than on some of the others, and I'm just racing headlong into it. Gotta be careful with those Final Transmutations and other big air effect spells. With the chariots gonna be bomb rushing in, looking to take the Blue Horrors straight in the face, going in with a devastating charge. Those scythes tear their way through puffy blue flesh, and we don't do much damage, of course, because we are actually hitting the shields there more than anything else, but it is going to start to get rid of them. And now my opponent has fallen for the trap, so in come the Screamers, and we're going to be counter-punching as quickly as possible with the Hellstriders. But Hellstriders are pretty squishy themselves, and there's a lot of problems in here for them as the Blue Horrors start lobbing their plasma grenades. So we have disrupted them relatively effectively so far. Do a nice little bit of a hit and run there, and you can see some of the Doom Knights taking some considerable damage. We've got a lot of the shields down as well as our main battle force does start to set in, and the glorious chariots once again are pushing into the enemy battle line. I do try to pin the enemy in place so we can come down with one of our spells. Now, it looks like it's not going to get the best placement, unfortunately, but oh my god, the sound of, like, shattered glass coming down is so freaking awesome. We do some decent damage to the screamers there. My opponent is able to dodge it and get a, quite frankly, ridiculous final transmutation down. It's practically catching my entire army here, an overcast final transmutation. Certainly not the best start for me whatsoever, and my opponent is definitely out damaging me at the moment, but we have a load of spears in here, fighting up against Doom Knights and Screamers. The chariots are still being problematic, and our Lord is having an absolute whale of a day. We are both summoning our Furies to the battlefield to try to counteract each other's Furies, which is one way to kind of deal with them, I suppose. And you can see the Seeker Chat still doing a good job, running over Forsaken and just applying a bit of pressure to the back. My opponent does bring in some Spawn of Tzeentch, and it has become a dirty, big old fat blob fight in the middle, and this is not suiting me whatsoever, and it doesn't really suit Slaanesh either. So a big Seer and Doom comes down, and my infantry is just being shredded. It is being slaughtered as I've been dragged into this main fight. Now, the Marauders are doing okay, but my opponent is certainly getting the upper hand. I'm saving up a bucket ton of supplies and resources right now, and trying to think, what on earth am I going to do? I'm losing this middle blob fight, and it's not gone well at all. Seeker Chariots have done some decent harass. It was a nice little plan in the middle, but we're coming in with our big magical effects as well, doing some decent damage to the enemy infantry here, and at least we're getting damage done upon the opponent, but we are losing at that middle objective, and I gotta think of something new. This just isn't working for me whatsoever, so I summoned some units on the right hand side, gonna start applying a bit of pressure to objective point number 3. Marauders of Slaanesh are moving that way, and we do have a couple of Hellstriders and Fiends of Slaanesh being summoned in, all on this right hand side, so I can start to contest at the enemy a little bit. Fiends of Slaanesh are so beautiful the way they bound in. I mean, horrifying, but in a beautiful way, and they can do some lovely damage to enemy infantry. In the center core, I'm still fighting. I don't want to pull out all of my troops and just give up here, because it's going to mean my opponent knows something's up and going to try to stop me at capping other objectives. I do definitely need to get the Herald of Slaanesh out of here, though. She's taking considerable damage at the moment, surrounded by Chaos Spawn, and we are starting to float in with the Hellstriders and Fiends. Hopefully going to be doing a bit of damage and trying to contest the middle and stop my opponent capping it, but he has indeed been able to cap it. Objective 3, however, is ours, and there are some blue horrors on the approach to stop us, but I have quite a few units over here. We should be relatively comfortable. Big area of effect shot coming in. That is just the Tzeentch's kind of tier 3 big faction ability. It does so much damage here, but honestly, I was losing this fight anyway with all my spearmen, and I am able to whittle my way out of it, just wiggling my way through the Fiends, as well as the Hellstriders. I'm going to use my mobility to my advantage. That's something Slaanesh really has in abundance, mass amounts of speed. And we're going to be moving over to Objective 1 instead of trying to hold the middle objective. Now, the Herald is a little bit stuck in here on her own, though. She's not having a good time. I'm trying to force move her away as much as possible. I'm going to be casting spells as well. You can see that purple aura going around her as she gets really angry with all these goddamn blue horrors trying to ruin her day. She's tired of these blue horrors on this mother effing objective, and she's going to be coming in once again with her glorious, just massive shards of blood, obliterating so many troops, and hopefully freeing her up for a bit of a safe push out of here. We do summon some Demonettes of Slaanesh, very fast, hard-hitting infantry, definitely best at flanking or rear attacking due to their faction ability to get way more damage if they do indeed do that. And they're only driving forward though to shut down these blue horrors, just screeching a battle cry as they charge into hand-to-hand combat. Should do pretty good up against the blue horrors, at least you would hope, in that initial fight. And objective 3 is looking really well secure for us at the moment. Objective 2, of course, is dominated by my opponent, but we have now managed to get the 2-to-1 cap, with objective 1 being held by us. We've summoned some more chariots to stop any annoying kind of blue horror play, because blue horrors are very cheap, so you can bring a lot of them onto the battlefield, and the chariots are just there to disrupt them and stop them really shooting while I dominate elsewhere. The Fiends, plus Marauders, plus my Lord, who was able to escape. She's got her grubby claws now mixed around the Screamers' faces, and is ripping them asunder. They do some little barrel roll attack animations there, but objective 1 is very much in my control. And you can see we're actually taking a bit of an early lead in the tickets, which is certainly good news for me. My opponent is going to try and counteract this. He's moving a large amount of his force out towards objective number 3. I've committed quite a few of my reinforcements to gaining number 1, and that could be a bit of a problem if we start running out of troops on this flank. Now, we do have some Forsaken Tzeentch being summoned in by the Tzeentch forces. The Demonettes are actually struggling quite a bit up against the Blue Horrors. There may have been some magical interference, though, with the Exiled Lord of Change, who's going to swan dive down into the Marauders. I actually moved my units way to the back, hopefully, of the square, so I don't get hit by the blue horror pressure early on, but my opponent's going to drop a Seer and Doom, and I'm not looking at this point because I'm elsewhere trying to micromanage, and we're taking considerable damage now on objective 3 as Furies are getting summoned in by my opponent. We have Spawn coming in, we have blue horrors coming in, and I don't have that many reinforcements on the way. We have some Hellstriders coming in, but that is about it. Seeing that my opponent has kind of pulled a lot of his reinforcements from Objective 2, I'm going to actually make a bit of a cheeky little push in it. Objective 1 seems very secure for me. Seeker Chariots are just harassing anything that comes in, plus my Lords over here. So I'm sending all my reinforcements to number 2 with the Fiends of Slaanesh, as well as some Seeker Chariots rotating from Objective 1 into number 2, plus more Marauders of Slaanesh and some more Hellstriders, all making a big push for that objective, because I know I'm going to lose Objective 3, but that is absolutely fine. I don't need it. I never wanted it in the first place. At least that's what I'll tell my opponent. Hellstriders just distracting as much of my opponent's force as possible, and he has to keep troops over here to actually cap the objective. So now is the time. I need to push number 2 as quickly as possible and dive in here. We do have pink horrors attempting to stop us, but the cavalry reaves through them like the mighty riders of King Theoden, swarming over the pink horrors and driving into the heart of the enemy objective. We have more Hellstriders as well, giving up on that objective, using my mobility to disengage and flood number 2. We have more troops on the way. I need to get them into this objective as swiftly as possible here, because my opponent is on his way. Luckily, Furies will react first, and they can't cap objectives, and the Spawn are on the approach, but they are, of course, monstrous infantry here. Objective 1 still looking pretty secure. My opponent is consistently summoning in blue horrors to harass, but at the same time, you know, blue horrors, they're decent, particularly in mass numbers, but with some chariots or cavalry, I should be able to shut them down relatively easily. Now, Objective 2 is once again ours. The Fiends of Slaanesh and the chariots are going to be butchering, I was about to say butchering and charging at the same time there. Butcher charging, there we go. The Spawn of Tzeentch doing some huge damage there. The Mage coming in as well and being quite problematic. The Mage is very, very powerful in melee. Combat the Exalted Lord here and be quite a nasty threat, but we do have Fiends here as well as our anti-large Hellstriders. I'm hoping at full we should be able to drag him down at least a little bit of his HP. Seeker Chariots do run over the Forsaken. Looks like some Flamers were brought on to help clear the objective, but I beeline for them with the Hellstriders, who are just launching themselves into glorious hand-to-hand combat. And this is not where the Flamers want to be whatsoever. They are trying to float away. Those evil jellyfish shall not escape the wrath of Slaanesh, if I have anything to say about it. Though there is some Doom Knights now being summoned to help protect them. That could prove very problematic for me, because the Flamers seem like they will be able to get out of here. The double Seeker Chariots just again doing a nice bit of harass, even though they're not doing the biggest amount of damage value. Searing Doom does come in. We are able to dodge the majority of it with our Marauders. On the far side, my opponent is making a bit of a play in an attempt to take me down. My Slaanesh's Marauders were really struggling there. But in come the Seeker Chariots, in come the Furies, trying to pin my opponent in place. So once again, I can wield the magical powers of Slaanesh and just shatter the hearts of these blue horrors. They've taken considerable damage now from the pressure of the Chariots, plus the Mage, who is up to an impressive 181 kills. Big fan of that caster in general. Now, Objective 3 is still well and truly out of our kind of aim of control. There's simply no way we're going to be able to get it at the moment, but Objective 2 is currently holding, but not for much longer. Marauders of Slaanesh, again, their arses lit on fire by the Flamers, up to 25 kills and rising relatively quickly. Look at that HP just melt away as Marauders do start to break and run. Another nasty Searing Dooms attempted to hit my Spearman. We are able to dodge the majority of the damage once again and summon in some Fiends to help deal with the enemy infantry. Unfortunately, the first unit of Fiends does go down. It was doing a decent job holding this little choke point, but with Doom Knights coming in the rear, it was simply too much and too hot for me to handle. Tickets-wise, we are ahead, 3,000 tickets to 2,000, but certainly not over yet by any stretch of the imagination. Flamers moving up as well as Blue Horrors into the middle. The Spearmen and the Fiends holding firm, continuing to fight. I love their animations. Slaanesh have some of the coolest ones. These fast, hard-hitting strikes, particularly with the tails just lashing down on the enemy and whipping them around in a furious frenzy. Looks like Blue Horrors as well as some Doom Knights are going to float over towards Objective 2. We are starting to lose that cap, which is a little bit scary for me at the moment. And army-wise, I'd say my opponent's a little bit ahead. I don't have too much more on the battlefield than him. I do have the Seeker Chariots who did attempt to push the Flamers in the back, as well as the Horrors. Screamers were used to counterpunch me, so I'm simply going to drive away and make a little attempted push once again on Objective 3, keeping moving as much as possible and not getting bogged down in any combats, because that's where Slaanesh can start to struggle. Marauders of Slaanesh take a load of fire from the Flamers. It looks like we're also going to be eating a Searing Doom, so that unit not having the best day there, really getting obliterated quite badly. My caster herself, though, has floated over to dish a bit of a pain to the enemy infantry as we attempt to cling onto the objective. It doesn't look like it's going to be going too good for us, but once again, that shattering sound as Blue Horrors scream as the life is ripped from them. Death by 1,000 cuts. Oh, baby, that is the Slaanesh kinky way. Fiend's doing a decent job, though, really breaking up the blue horrors and hopefully holding this objective. You can see loads of Forsaken are running. Blue horrors are starting as well to dissipate completely, but the objective does, I believe, go in the hands of my opponents. No, the Fiends bounce back, and we are holding on firm to objective number 2. Only just, though. I do a little bit of a push as well onto objective 3, but with some lovely magic from my opponent. It's quite problematic. Seekers, as well as Hellstriders, attempting to push objective 3, plus some more Marauders of Slaanesh going that way. Objective 2 has been held by my opponent, but I have a dominant lead right now on the tickets. 4,300 to 2,600. I am still well and truly in this game. I simply need to hold the one objective, but I am clinging on for dear life. My opponent's going to be getting far more resources at the moment than I am, due to the comeback mechanic, which, for those who don't know, depending on how far behind you are ticket-wise, means you get some added base income. The other way to get more income is to deal damage, however, so it's always good still to be on the front foot, but the backup mechanic does certainly help out quite a bit. Hellstriders applied a bit of pressure onto objective 3, but unfortunately weren't able to claim it, and this is where I do the big brain gamer play. I do hide some Hellstriders in the trees here. Now, my opponent knows he has to get objective 1. If he doesn't get objective 1, he loses the game. So he needs to send his entire army over there to go deal with it. If that means he leaves objective 3 undefended, I can hop on it with the Hellstriders and claim that objective for myself. That's the hope. I do summon a couple of units of Marauders of Slaanesh with spears. I'm pretty desperate now. I just want bodies to chuck onto the objective, just to hold the line. Nothing too fancy. We will die in the name of Slaanesh. That is the current plan, whether my troops like it or not. I don't have too much here at the moment. We have some Hellstriders. We do have some Marauders of Slaanesh, as well as my Lord, and a lot of flies coming in, which is good news for me because they cannot actually claim the objective. They are getting here quite fast, softening up my troops, and now the Flamers and Spawn are starting to come in. I am barely clinging on for dear life right now. Like, please, someone come save me. I managed to summon some Hellstriders from my vanguarded respawn point coming through the trees, and they launched their way in. I'm actually looking to intercept the Flamers because they're very quick to kill infantry. I'm trying to get them off the battlefield as quickly as possible and hopefully allow my Slaanesh's spearmen to get in, because the Flamers, I think, are about to one-shot this unit. So I jump in with the Hellstriders to stop them. My opponent is bringing over the majority of his forces now. There's, of course, going to be a load of Searing Dooms and so forth coming down in an attempt to clear out my infantry. My opponent does attempt to jump on the Spearmen with the Screamers. I'm furiously spam-clicking my way through them, though, to get onto this objective, just to try and pin it and keep it out of reach from my opponent. And it is still good for me right now, although there's Blue Horrors and Pink Horrors starting to flood in as more cavalry is spawned into the action to help deal with the spawn of Tzeentch. My Lord is getting dangerously low, and my opponent does abandon objective 3, so in come the Hellstriders to claim that objective, whilst my opponent isn't looking. But I don't think it's going to matter either way, because we are barely holding on there, with even more Hellstriders coming into the battle, and them all being anti-large, and of course good against the Blue Horrors. We may have even been able to win this fight in the end, but it was extremely close. The Exalted Lord was about to finish off my Lord as well. She had gone toe-to-toe with him for quite some time, though. Very impressed with her performance, as well as my opponent's, but Slaanesh reigns supreme. Slaanesh are going to be very powerful in this game mode in general. Very fast, very mobile, really hard hitting as well. I think the main struggle for Slaanesh is going to be hitting stuff which can take the hits and dish it back quickly. So I think Slaanesh in general are going to be fantastic against probably quite a lot of the factions, and then struggle up against one or two. Very kind of elf-like in their play, and boy, that was such a fun game, just like clinging on for dear life. I remember thinking, do I have this? Do I have this? I don't know. I think my opponent has this. It was a real back and forth there, but we managed just about to clinch it at the death, and we still had that sneaky Hellstrider play in the back pocket, so we could have capped that objective if we needed just one or two more tickets. Very, as I said, like multiple times, the Herald of Slaanesh, big fan. Big fan as well of the Exalted Greater Demons of Slaanesh, particularly the Shadow one with the Pendulum is really nasty. But yeah, these cheaper casters can still get the damage done with over 2,000 gold of value and 269 kills. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I will delve into the damage dealt and gold value in just a memento. But if you guys enjoy, make sure to leave a big fat juicy thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel as well for more Total War Warhammer content into the future. And feel free to comment down below what you thought of the battle. Bucket ton of links in the description to Twitch, Patreon, Discord. I would have done by the time this video comes out, I believe, my first Warhammer 3 Twitch stream, which would have been a best of 7 land battle stream, which should be good fun. So that will hopefully still be up there if you want to go check that out. And yeah, awesome stuff. So again, hope you guys enjoyed. Well played to my opponent, Mr. Logic. He's a fantastic YouTuber. He is now also releasing Warhammer 3 content. Make sure to go check him out at logic_EU. So back to the battle. The Herald Slaanesh against the Exalted Lord of Change. 2.8k gold, 2.1 for me. I am significantly cheaper though, significantly cheaper, and though I did less damage, not that much less damage, so still I reckon they're on the even playing field there, so good job to the Herald holding it down against such a powerful demonic force. The Seeker Chariots don't ever seem to get much value, 300 value here as well as 400 on the other unit. We summon them in multiple times as well, and they just don't seem to pack that much of a punch, but what they do amazingly. Just fling units all over the place and do a load of backline harass. Hellstriders, 2,452 damage value, 51 kills, arguably the best unit on the roster for them. So hard hitting for such a cheap unit. Only 350 on the second unit, Hellstriders though, as they are a bit squishy. 555, 288, 209, 529, and 300 value there on all the Marauders. And in the backup army, a load more Marauders who didn't really, unfortunately, get in on the action too much. More Hellstriders, though, did pretty decent, 730 damage. We also have the whip version, a bit better against enemy infantry. We did bring a unit of Demonizer Slaanesh in. They were a little bit unsupported, going up against the Blue Horrors and also feeling the wrath of my opponent's magic. They can be a pretty fun unit, but again, hard-hitting and squishy. It's kind of the pro and con in general of Slaanesh. The Fiends of Slaanesh are very powerful. They bring a nice little debuff to the enemy when they hit, and I can just see them getting just tearing apart enemy infantry formations. 544 damage value and 956 on them with 64 and 79 kills. The standout for my opponent definitely was the Exalted Lord of Change. There's not too much Slaanesh can do to counteract him in the air because he is such a powerful melee combatant. Furies will have a tough time, though you do want to get him diving down into combat to pay for himself as he can be a little bit pricey. Nonetheless, 291 kills, 2,800 damage value, an absolute standout. Doom Knights as well, very impressive with them. 1.7k gold value, 173 kills. Forsaken, 1,000 damage value, 785 on the Screamers, 1,100, 600, and 500 on the Blue Horrors, though they were most likely summoned in multiple times. As for the rest of the build, 990 damage value on the Spawner Tzeentch of 66 kills, not too shabby, and the other Forsaken performed relatively well. 1,000 value on the Flamers, quite fantastic considering they weren't on the battlefield long before they got shut down, with 91 kills, and the Screamers did good in general, as well as the Blue Horrors. Looks like we had some gold and double gold Chevron units coming in here, with 800 and 1,000 gold damage value apiece. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.